How do you become a great writer? Well, today, William Faulkner is going to share his game plan, his framework on how to become a legendary writer. And here on Write Conscious, we cover William Faulkner. If you look at the playlist down below, you will see an ever-blossoming library of videos on Faulkner's life, his books, and his writing philosophy. And we also cover many other great authors on this channel, but most importantly, I help authors like you join the literary renaissance so that we can create an educational and spiritual awakening out in the world. But enough for me. Let us hear from the legend himself, William Faulkner, on what you need to do to improve. 99% talent, 99% discipline, 99% work. A good novelist must never be satisfied with what he does. It never is as good as it can be done. Always dream and shoot higher than you know you can do. Don't bother just to be better than your contemporaries or predecessors. Try to be better than yourself. An artist is a creature driven by demons. He doesn't know why they choose him, and he's usually too busy to wonder why. He is completely amoral in that he will rob, borrow, beg, or steal from anybody and everybody to get the work done. The writer's only responsibility is to his art. He will be completely ruthless if he is a good one. He has a dream. It anguishes him so much he must get rid of it. He has no peace until then. Everything goes by the board. Honor, pride, decency, security, happiness, all to get the book written. If a writer has to rob his mother, he will not hesitate. The ode on a Grecian urn is worth any number of old ladies. And oh my God, Faulkner is spitting some fire there. And he discusses something that surprisingly we've never really talked about on this channel, that you are going to have such a burning desire within that you will rob, borrow, beg, or steal from anybody to get your work out there. Because is what you're doing actually important? Do you actually care about it? Do you actually believe in it? Because I believe if you do, then it will burst forth out into the world. You won't sit and complain and mew about how the industry's changed and that you have to get online and that's not a writer's job. You don't care about that. Because a completely ruthless writer in 2024 understands for the first time in human history that they have an opportunity to share their work with the world and have no limitations. Back in the day, if you had a bad reputation, if a publishing house or a group of them didn't like your work, then you were screwed. What are you going to do? Make a chapbook and hand it out to people? No one's going to figure out about that. But if your work is actually good now and you put a little mustard behind it, if you give it a little oomph by talking about it, sharing it out in the world, then word of mouth will actually start to happen. And people don't believe this because they actually just suck at writing. And so when they give their work out, when they do the marketing and people read their stuff, nothing happens. They're like, what happened? No one understands it. Everyone's just too dumb now. Everyone's an NPC. Excuse after excuse after excuse. And only people who make the excuses are people without talent, without discipline, and without thousands of hours behind them. All luck is laboring under correct knowledge. Do you know about the 5 Ps? Proper preparation prevents poor performance, everybody. And what sacrifices have you made to get time and energy for writing? What relationships have you given up? How much money have you given up? I have been fired from at least 10 jobs for reading on the job. If I am working for some random ass company that's paying me $15 an hour, fuck them. I don't give a shit. I've been fired as a lifeguard for reading, as a security guard, as a lifty at a ski resort. In those 3 positions multiple times. At different ski resorts, pools, and security companies. And the reason I picked those jobs is because I could read, I could write. And the only reason I'm speaking to you right now is because I made that decision. I made the decision that the random boss getting mad at me or firing me didn't mean as much as helping tens of thousands and one day millions of people activate and then create a cycle that will eventually create a literary renaissance. I understood that. You need to get that in your head. You maybe need to engage, like many writers in the past, with maybe illegal or semi-illegal activities to make money, to get energy back. Let's just be honest here. How much do you actually care? Even crazier, what about your family? What about your husband, your wife, your kids? What if they aren't aligned with your vision? What if they just aren't a good match and you made a mistake? Well, how bad do you want it? Because there have been people we've seen all throughout the past, authors on my bookshelf right now, who took the evil exit. And that's what you're going to have to do eventually if you want to be a great writer. You're going to have to understand people are going to think I'm an asshole. People are going to have to think I'm evil, and you're just going to have to leave. I've even done this with this channel. I make crazy videos sometimes. I make fun of people. I say things. But I know that if we are going to kick off a literary renaissance, we can't sit there like Benjamin McAvoy and read off a script and with a British accent, I went to Oxford. I can't do that. There needs to be polarization. Me and Benjamin McAvoy need to fight each other. Something needs to happen. There is no excitement in the literature community. Look at the music industry. Rappers are getting shot all the time. There's drama. Who are they dating? What are they doing? Do you give a damn who George Saunders is dating, what he's doing? And the reason you don't is because he never made you care. People like Ernest Hemingway made people care. Jake Paul, even though I think he's an idiot, is making people care about him. He tapped into the most primal instinct, getting into a ring and fighting. And his popularity and his income has skyrocketed because of it. What are we doing as a community? We are the bottom of the barrel, you guys. If you are a writer, you are a jackal. And here's an example. Everybody loves wolves, right? There's always a girl who has a wolf tattoo, and oh my God, everyone loves the wolves, all the guys, and guys love lions, lion mentality. But wolves are dumb, even though they're very smart beings and communicate, yada, yada, yada. But they're the big, brawny dogs of the canine species. Coyotes are much more intelligent than wolves. Wolves were easily eradicated out of America, and we've been trying to eradicate coyotes, including with poisons and massive hunting campaigns with bounties for a very long time because they are the smaller animal. They had to use their brain, and if you don't believe me, there's a great book called Coyote America by Dan Flores out there that discusses this at length. But as writers, that's who we are. We can't communicate on video, on a podcast, with their personality like an actor, a musician, or even an artist does. We have to make someone read our little book that takes 7 hours to complete. And in general, writers kind of fit that disposition. So we are smarter. We are more clever than the random rapper that's out there or the random artist. But are we using our brain? What have we done with what we've done with our talent is tap in to suburban housewives' need for Bigfoot erotica, their need for biker Dave having sex with Jeannie in motorcycle erotica. Go look at what sells on Kindle. We've tapped into the need of a bunch of nerds, sorry to say it, like capital N nerds, lowercase n nerds, need for sci-fi escapism. And I'm not talking about real sci-fi, the best sci-fi or fantasy of all time. That's what we've done because there's this decision that is made. And I've known plenty of people who've made it. They're sitting there and a bunch of people in my writing program, they'd be like, okay, so I have to get a PhD and I'm not maybe the best writer of all time. And I'm probably going to make no money as a writer. Like even if I get a book published, 98% of books, and this is by the New York Times in a study figured out that 98% of books published by big houses sell less than 5,000 copies, which means that you will make less than $10,000 for a book that gets published by Penguin or Random House. 98% chance. And so when you hear that, you're like, shit, that sucks. I want to be a writer. I don't want to work a job. So why not go write Bigfoot erotica? There's a whole market out there. There's literally a housewife in Kansas right now with a husband named Dan who comes home every night, slams down a 12-pack and watches the Kansas City Chiefs win because of the script every single weekend. And she needs an escape. And so plenty of people can go over there. Right now with your writing talent and skills, if you understood how to write books on Kindle and market and put a little bit of money into covers, you could easily make 6 figures a year and quit your job within 3 years. But that's not doing anything, you guys. That's entertainment. That's escapism. But if all of those authors that put all this time and effort into all these random genre dopamine fixes for profit did the game plan of the literary renaissance, which is 50,000 authors who are writing at a high level, who aren't afraid to speak about their work, and they dominate a certain sub-niche of modern consciousness. Like, for instance, I'm a desert poet. I'm releasing a desert poetry book this year. How many desert poets do you know? There are a couple, but over the course of the next couple years, because I love writing desert poetry, I'm going to release a ton of books on it. And I live down here in Arizona in a retirement community, and a ton of people care about poetry. And I know a ton of people online care about nature poetry. Is it a market that I can make 6 figures a year immediately in? Absolutely not. I probably never will. But if all of us did it in our certain sub niche and put the effort in to niches that are actually real, that aren't Bigfoot erotica or sci-fi westerns, then we could change the world. And that taps into what you care about. The people that write Bigfoot erotica don't care about it. They're just doing it for money. But you care about something and don't realize that there is a sub-niche market out there that would love it. They just don't know it exists yet because you haven't put it in their face. And I know I kind of just went on a tangent there, but that's what being ruthless is about. Actually going after your goal. Bigfoot erotica and Kindle writing and teaching writing and getting an MFA and doing all that, those are shadow goals. That is moving away from the actual work, because if you are going to write something that can transform the world and transform others, you are going to have to be inherently transformed yourself, much more than other people. And that is the last thing that writers and any human being wants to do, is first of all, admit that they are wrong and then change their life. But as Rilke said, who is the greatest poet of all time, in my opinion, all writers must change. You must change your life. And he was speaking to writers. He was speaking to the fact that you have to learn to see actual reality. And when you do, your life will change, because all angels are terrified. And that starts with using our cleverness, using our ruthlessness by any means necessary to make people care about your work. But let's get back to the topic on how to become a great novelist. It is, first of all, according to Faulkner, 99% talent. And I've talked about this before, that almost everyone behind me on my bookshelf was very talented. They came, not all of them, but a lot of them came from very well-to-do families. They were surrounded by very smart individuals and were mentored all along the way. They had more literary training, more training in writing by the time they were 16 than you maybe do in your 30s and 40s. And you've been telling everyone you've been a writer for the last 20 years. And that's not to put you down, but that's to help you realize that if you don't have talent, if you aren't one of these individuals who's maybe genetically or bred to be a writer, bred to be someone who is a kind of high achiever, then you are going to have to become one. It is the only way. You can't put out shit and expect it to stick on the wall. Next is 99% discipline. And this is the truth, that most books behind me, and people don't want to believe this. People like leave comments and they're like, writing, this is all an illusion. They all lie. Just write 90 minutes a day and everything will come to you. Guys, the people behind me were grinding. They were putting in hours a day a lot of the time, especially the good ones. Like there's random ass writers who like wrote things and kind of got famous. Maybe were innovative for the time or just had a nice persona and we care about them now, who weren't putting the work in. But I can guarantee you that people that we talk about on this channel easily put 5,000 deep work hours into each one of their books. In a deep work hour, there's no music, there's no phone going off, there's no screaming. You are sitting there and you are working and there are no distractions for hours at a time, not 30 minutes in the morning. I'm talking about hours. And once again, I'm not discouraging you. If you only have 20 minutes, do what you can with 20 minutes. But that takes a certain amount of discipline, even especially when you have a job, when you have a family, when you have a bunch of responsibilities or health problems, to get that done. And the easiest way to develop discipline is not reading Atomic Habits and being optimized like Andrew Huberman. It is to actually care about what you're doing, and it's really easy to do, you guys. How do you I can release multiple videos here a day, a daily podcast, run 20 different book clubs at once, keep a workout routine, work 50 hours a week as a teacher, spend hours with my wife every day, play with my 3 cats, spend time with my family, and make sure I get an hour of sun every single day because I care about what I'm doing. But when I didn't care about what I was doing, I got nothing done, even though I had all the time in the world. Nothing seemed to ever get done. But now that I care, now that I have a goal, now that I have a vision, now that I'm being ruthless with my time, then no one can get in. I don't hang out with anybody. There's random ass people, hey, can we hang out? Nope, sorry. There are kids at my job who want to talk about random stuff. Sorry, I don't have the energy for that. I don't care that your dad hates you. All I care about is if you know how to use a goddamn verb in a sentence. And next, Faulkner says that you shouldn't be satisfied with what you do. Novelists aren't satisfied. And speaking of the jackal mentality, the coyote mentality that writers have, is we are tinkerers. We are always thinking. Our brain is always going, always thinking, always, even when we're out in the world doing things, we are unconsciously letting that absorb. And if you are a poet, this may not be the case. Like, there are some poets out there that are just totally inspirational. They just let something come to them, and they should be living a much more low-key lifestyle and letting the muse come to them. But if you are going to engage in fiction and you're going to have to step into the arena with people like a Cormac McCarthy or a William Faulkner, then you're going to have to be tinkering and thinking and have a it's not good enough mentality. Because as I always say, when you give someone your book, when William T. Volman sells his book, Europe Central, which is the best World War II novel in history, he is saying to me, you need to spend 10 hours reading this. If this is a 10-hour commitment, actively. I could sit and listen to Animals by Pink Floyd, and it takes, an hour? But I could listen to it passively and enjoy myself and actually have more energy and feel more rested when I get done. I don't feel more rested after I read an hour of Europe Central. My brain is going, I'm thinking about, Jesus Christ, what was Hitler thinking? Why did he do Barbarossa? And so it's not just that it is never done, but you always have to be shooting higher than you know what you can do. And that's what happens with a lot of authors, that there's this continual improvement, because guess what? Your first book isn't going to be maybe your best book. If you look at a lot of authors behind me, that's a very rare thing. And even more so, it's usually an author's fourth, fifth, sixth book that in the middle of their career where they actually start producing a lot of their masterpieces. So it's not bad to maybe release something or be at a point where you're not the greatest of all time, but you have to get through that period and move forward by trying to do something every single time. When I look at a lot of authors, I see that usually in every single book, they improve one or two things. And so by the time they get to their masterpieces, they've improved their dialogue, their sentence structure, their transitions, their voice, their contrastability, all these different things. And then when it all comes together and they find an idea they really care about, that's when masterpieces are made. And Faulkner makes a great point that writers are driven by demons, but you shouldn't contemplate why you've been chosen. You don't need to think. And this is what happens to a lot of people now in the world. They have this analysis paralysis. They don't write, they don't do anything because they're always thinking about writing. They're always anxious about writing. They don't market their writing because they wonder what people are going to think. But once again, if you were an actual writer in 2024, you need to get that message out. Posting it on the Kindle graveyard to no one except your family and your friends is trivial. Back in the day, maybe you could be an undiscovered author and that work could blow up, but that's not the case anymore because we live in a society that releases 3.5 million books a year. You're never going to break through. You're never going to be discovered unless you put yourself out there. The slush piles don't even exist anymore. Unsolicited manuscripts don't exist anymore. And so when you look at people like Kafka or Emily Dickinson or other people, John Kennedy Toole with a Confederacy of Dunces, and they have these family members that find someone to publish their work. It's not like that anymore, unfortunately, unless you have a very persistent family member, and you'd actually have to release something very good. And so it's a pipe dream to think that unless you create an audience person by person, that you will do anything or have any impact as an author in 2024. And so you can't be wondering about your appearance. You can't be wondering what people think about you. You can't be wondering about all the hate comments. You use that momentum and that hate as fuel because you are serving a higher purpose. You are not writing for entertainment. You are not writing because you like to do it. You're not writing because I have no other choice. All these bullshit excuses. You are writing because you have an opportunity to transform someone's life and their mind. That's my standard now. I have enough ways to escape. I can watch my TV. I can play video games. I can read crime novels by people who are amazing authors if I want to escape. I could do nothing if I want to escape. I want to be moved. Every sentence must be a blow. Look at your writing. Is every sentence a blow? Is every paragraph a revelation? And when you look at people like Faulkner, especially at his best, that's what he was doing. And Faulkner talks about the dream. It anguishes him so much he must get rid of it. He has no peace until then. He's not talking about one book. He has the dream. It's the dream of becoming an author. And I don't care why you want to do it. I joke all the time. Maybe you just want Instagram hoes hitting you up. Maybe you want to prove to everyone in your hometown that you did it, that you're smarter than everyone realized. Maybe you want to be remembered forever. Maybe you really care about writing. Maybe you just really want to test yourself against the greats. But if that's dreams alive, then if you actually care, that itch can't be satisfied by posting something that never is read. And so to be an author in 2024 is a bigger ask. You're going to actually have to transform into someone that can promote their work out into the world. I didn't want to accept this for years, you guys. At age 18, when I wanted to become an author, when I was going through university, I said, I'm never going to do that. I'm going to be like Cormac McCarthy. I'm never going to do an interview, yada, yada, yada. And then I realized at some point that, first of all all the information that you have in your brain, if you're not sharing it out with the world in a scalable way, then it's being wasted. And you are basically a waste. Then why did you learn that? Why were you given this opportunity by the universe if you are going to do nothing with it but just be more jolly than you'd maybe be with your family and friends and have a cool thing to say and one up someone at a social gathering? That's not what we're doing. We have a bigger focus here. And so if you want to improve, you need to adopt the mentality that you will, by any means necessary, get your work out there. And you can't rely on me. You can't say, hey, Right Conscious, market my book, read my book. Here's my book. I think you'd really like it. Guess what, you guys? I'm marketing my own stuff. I am fine with elevating other people. I do that every single day on my channel. Hundreds of videos elevating authors, but they have credibility. You only have so much asking power that you have to build up. Like when I release my book this year, it's going to be the first thing I've ever released. I'm going to say, hey, I think this is really good. Go and buy this. But if I was promoting random people's writings who send their books to me all the time, you wouldn't trust me as much because you would buy one of those books and be like, that wasn't very good. And so the only option you have is not to look to influencers, but to look to yourself and what you can do. Because people, I hope, trust me. And if I say, hey, I think this book I'm releasing is pretty good, they're like, okay, I'm going to try it. But if you are trying to sell a book and you have no trust with anybody, then it's going to be a really hard time. And really, you're going to have to rely on ads. And so those are the two ways to sell books, basically, in 2024. You have to get good at ads and put ads on Kindle. And that's literally the same thing as learning to market and make YouTube videos and everything else. And so this is William Faulkner's advice. Be ruthless. Discipline yourself. You're going to have to work hard if you don't have talent. You're going to have to take the evil exit in a lot of different aspects of your life. You're going to have to leave dreams behind. You're going to have to, I don't watch sports anymore. I love sports. I love just to go full unconscious and watch the script and get mad like, oh my God. But I don't do that anymore because my energy has to go into this literary renaissance. I wish I could go out and drink. I haven't drank in years. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have a problem with drinking. Not religious. I just know that energy could be better used. Same with a million other sacrifices. What sacrifices are you making? And I guarantee you that if you stack them up over the course of years and come every single day and push out your work and what you're doing to the world, that eventually you will blow up. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you to William Faulkner for this beautiful passage. And I will see you guys on the battlefield of the literary crusade.